Welcome to Veterans Voice. We're got a special guest with us today, the mayor of Paducah. And she's going to tell us about some of the events that are coming up this fall to celebrate veterans.
That's right.
You want to explain what the Paducah American Hero Veterans Day celebration is?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, so this conversation got started back last fall after the Vietnam Wall that Heals came to Paducah. And I know many of your watchers and listeners were there and experienced that event. I think it was one of the most amazing experiences that Paducah has ever had. You probably heard the statistics that we brought more people to our event.
35,000 or more.
That's right. Than any other community had, even the big cities. So we should be proud of that. To me, I had the privilege of participating in that ceremony. That was the end of the event. And I just sat there watching and experiencing such an amazing honor to veterans. And I realized that perhaps we haven't done such a great job over the years in doing that for our Paducah veterans. So it really inspired me to start asking questions to WPSD and to the Orr family. You know, how could we make this a reality more than just this one time? How could we scale it down a little bit, because that was a big event, but how can we do that every year in that way?
That's great.
So that's where this came from. And we started having meetings with WPSD and the Orr family and other stakeholders, talking about how can we expand on our Veterans Day parade and do a celebration like that was had here in Paducah last fall.
There's a question I guess a lot of people may have about, and I think you just touched on some of it, about the traveling wall and all that, how much it done for Paducah and the surrounding area for our veterans. You said WPSD TV Paducah Sun is involved, Milner and Orr, City of Paducah, McCracken County, Paducah McCracken Convention Center, and 101st Airborne Sustainable Brigade. What are they going to do?
Since I became elected, the 101st Airborne has reached out to me every year to try to build a relationship. And I have been very open to that. I've actually been on base at least 3 times now. When they invite me to their events, I go to support what they're up to. But they also want to build a relationship with Paducah so that they can send their soldiers to Paducah. That we can help get them employed when they're ready to get out of the service. So we can be one of their home bases. In fact, I was just at the base about 2 weeks ago having lunch with the new colonel. Her name is Stephanie Barton. And we had a great conversation about partnerships and things that we can do together. So we thought it would be important to include them in this event. Some things that we're talking about them doing, nothing is final yet, so I want everyone to understand that. But we are working on trying to do kind of a static display of some of their equipment that they will be bringing on site so that our young people can see the kinds of things that you would see if you went on base at the 101st. They're also going to be providing entertainment, so we're going to have the Army Band in concert at the evening of Veterans Day. So they have been tremendous. It's a holiday, and you know they told me early on our soldiers like to go home on a holiday, and I said absolutely, please don't make them feel like they're obligated at all. But they've chosen to participate with us, so I think we should be thankful and honored that they want to come here and celebrate.
That's right. That's the Screaming Eagles.
That's right. Yep.
I learned the other day, my father-in-law, he was in World War II. I knew that. In fact, he was in what you call occupied Japan, which is after they signed the peace treaty. You know, and so our soldiers still occupied Japan. A lot of them were there to help rebuild and things like this. But I guess he was a paratrooper, and he always told us he only jumped once. Of course, you had to jump a lot more than one time just to become a paratrooper.
Right.
But I think he was referring to he probably parachuted into Japan.
Wow.
So right about that time. So.
Wow. So I have to tell you this because before I came here, I have this long, skinny painting or photo on my wall in my house. And it's my grandfather's unit when he was in the military from 1942. It has a date on there.
Oh.
And I was thinking about this in preparation. I know a whole lot about my later relatives who were in service. My uncle who was in Vietnam. My dad served for a long time in the Air Force. but I don't know as much about my grandfather's service. And so you've inspired me now. I need to look back and ask some more questions about what was his position, where was he?
Yeah.
But that photo, he's right in the middle of it. You know, it's like 100 men in the one photo. So I was reflecting on that this morning. So
There's a World War II museum they've built. I think it's in New Orleans.
okay,
But I know it's in Louisiana down there. And my wife, she sends a donation once in a while in the name of her father. They have a lot of records. They have a lot of available information for people if you wanted to contact the World War II museum. You know, so
I will.
I think they're online too. So
okay,
but yeah, I'm sure that all of us would be interested in digging up some records. My dad, he was too young for World War I. He was too old for World War II, and he already started a family and everything. But I remember him saying to me years ago that he was in the he was in the MCT program. I think he called it the MCT program. In other words, they had citizen soldiers back then that even as kids they were training. You know, teenagers, they would train out on the field, march and learn at some of the academies, some of the military academies. There was one in Alton. That's where he was from, Alton, Illinois. So I remember him saying it. But I'd like to get some of those records but I don't know where to look or if it's available. But he said the thing that always impressed him was General Pershing. He said he walked right by their platoon and examined how they examined. The generals examined the platoons or the commanding officer. And of course, they all have to stand at attention, and salute with their rifles.
Was that maybe the early ROTC days? I'm curious if maybe that was like,
I'm not sure about it.
Yeah.
Now, what are the goals in these? Do you remember, or do you want me to read them to you?
You should read them. They're pretty new to us. Yeah.
Well, the first time I got this from you was a couple weeks ago at the meeting. And it's recognize veterans from all age groups and experiences, and to facilitate conversations between veterans and the community, create a welcoming environment, celebrate and tell stories, create a family-friendly experience, and provide a meaningful event for schools. What about the schools? How are they going to be involved? I know they're usually every year they get the kids up there for the parade and all that. So
well, hopefully that's still going to happen for the parade, right? I think they enjoy seeing everyone come through.
Yeah,
I'm sure that the parade participants also enjoy seeing the kids on the side. So hopefully that will keep happening. The next step in our planning process is for a few of our team members from that joint team to go meet with the school superintendents and talk about that and figure out, is there a time of day that they maybe can come get an educational opportunity? We've also, the 101st has offered some keynote speakers to come.
Oh, great.
So maybe it's an opportunity where there's a bunch of middle school or high schoolers sitting in the expo center listening to someone directly from the 101st about their experiences and things like that. So we're still kind of figuring that part out. But again, that was a stated goal because we realize not only are these schools federally mandated to do something for Veterans Day, it's actually a requirement for them.
I didn't know that.
We also want to help educate our community on the importance of service and also the importance of honoring people who have served.
Yeah. And of course, most of those kids that are in school now have grandparents or that may have served during that time.
Yeah. Well, one thing that we really talked about a lot is an opportunity here to honor the veterans from those wars in the past, but that the reality is we're still in war.
Still in war,
And so many of those veterans are coming home to Paducah. And we need to surround them with support and make sure that they understand that they have that community. So some of these kids have parents that might be serving.
Yeah, we learned our lesson, hopefully, in the Vietnam War when we didn't support our troops very well when they came home. And many of the Vietnam veterans were spit at, their faces were slapped. They were just shunned by most of society. And they lived a lonely life for a few years till they started, getting back on their feet. But I could tell you some stories, but we won't have time for that. But there's a sunrise service that you're planning at 6 a.m. approximately. Where is that going to be located?
So we imagine it being on the river.
On the
So
river?
somewhere outside of the convention center along the riverfront. We imagine that being a smaller
Think the water
service.
will be down by then?
Well, it's not in the parking lot, so we're
Not
okay
in the
right
parking-
now. Yeah,
okay.
and flood season's in the spring, so I think we're going to be okay.
Yeah.
But we imagine having a raising of the flag,
Yeah.
having reverie played by a musician, maybe
Yeah.
even doing the colors, and really just starting the day with a serene experience.
That sounds good.
This was actually Bill Evans' idea from
Oh, really?
WPSD, and he said,
Yeah.
let's just get the day started off in the right way.
Yeah.
So it'll be open to the public. We're not sure that many people will get up at 6 a.m., but we'll have plenty of events during the day that people with
Yeah.
different time schedules are able to participate in.
Yeah, I think that's great. There's going to be a breakfast served for the veterans from like 6:30 to 8:30. Is that
The time is still
being
moving,
planned?
so let's make sure to tell your viewers to look out for the final agenda.
Okay.
Probably going to be in the newspaper
Okay.
at some point. But yeah, the times are still flexible.
These are the things you're working on.
That's right. The breakfast is the idea of having breakfast with a veteran or veterans and their families.
And their families,
So we will
okay.
host that at the convention center as well.
Okay.
We're looking for sponsorships for that. So if there's a business out in the community
And
that wants to
volunteers
help,
for all
and we're
this.
also looking for volunteers to help
Yeah.
pull this off.
Yeah. Volunteers will help out a lot. That will take the load off of others,
That's right.
And you will be having a honoring and awards ceremony. Have you put that together yet exactly? What that
Not
might be?
exactly, but what we're thinking is the ceremony that happens before the parade, that this will be that ceremony. So the kids singing, the DAR being able to provide, do the awards for the essay contest,
Oh, yeah.
the Distinguished Veteran Award, the Patriot Award. So we imagine that we'll do that ceremony inside the Expo Center so that we can do it bigger and better, but
Yeah.
also in case it's raining or the weather is poor,
Yeah.
we'll be able to all get out there and feel comfortable.
And there'll be special speakers, I guess, there too. You've got elementary schools will be attending to that. And what's this Touch a Truck event?
Well, that was my terminology because Paducah has an event called Touch a Truck every year.
Oh.
And, firefighters get out there in the police cars and the helicopters. So that
Yeah.
was my terminology.
Oh,
The
okay.
101st calls it a static display. So it's actually that display of their equipment so that
Oh, I
people
see.
can get up close and personal with it and feel
So they
it.
might have a tank in there?
That's maybe. We'll
wow,
see.
that'd be great. That'd be impressive. And I guess there'd be booths, what they call booths for veteran services and recruitment information. There'd be all kinds of activities there going on. And you'll probably need some volunteers for all that stuff too.
We do. We will need volunteers to help us with setup, with help us, guide people around the room. If you
Yeah.
if you know the Expo Center over at the Convention Center, it's a very tall, large building.
is.
But we're going to try to use every square foot that we can. But we're
Yeah.
going to need help for sure, making sure
Yeah.
people know where to go and be safe and those kinds of things.
Yeah. Other interactive ideas that are on here is thank you card station for school-age children to write notes to the veterans. You know that is so impressive. Our Sunday school class, one of the Sunday school classes, they prepared a bunch of little cards for veterans. Like get well or we're praying for you and things like this. And we took them all and we sent them to the Veterans Hospital in Marion, Illinois. And we received a thank you card back and it's also not only from the hospital, but one individual family in particular, because their grandfather was in the hospital up there and he was in pretty bad shape. And when he received one of those cards from the kids, it just lit him up.
Wow.
He was so glad to hear from the kids, realizing that they do care. People care, and the family sent us that thank you note. Thank you so much, in behalf of our grandfather and our
Wow.
father. So,
Maybe that's where we need to send those thank you notes then.
yeah,
To do it for the VA
they,
hospital.
Yeah, they really welcome them
Not a
up
bad
there.
idea.
Yeah.
We imagine a little station, and again, these are ideas that we haven't really decided if we're going to do yet. So if anyone that's watching has an idea, by the way, of ways
Yeah.
we can get people to engage and interact at the event, we're very open to other ideas.
Yeah.
But for that thank you card station, it seemed like a really good thing that the kids could participate in. So
Yeah.
thanks for that. I
And
appreciate
then
it.
afterwards, all those cards could be sent
Yeah.
to the different hospitals and the veteran hospitals. So it means a lot to them, especially on holidays. When holidays roll around, they just have that, more discouragement and down feeling than they have other days because, they're stuck in a hospital or they're in bad health and things like this. So it means a lot to them. And I guess maybe there might possibly be some choirs from the schools.
So there is a children's choir that does sing at that ceremony now before the Veterans Day Parade starts. So yeah,
that's
we
right.
definitely want to include them again.
Yeah, we usually hear them every year up there. Yeah, and they're good. The special section in the Paducah Sun, there'll be a lot of information provided there, and providing flags to all attendees.
We're going to try, again, if we can get sponsors and find a way to pay for those kinds of ideas, then we're going to try for sure to do that.
Okay. Coloring books.
That was just a random idea that we had in our
Okay.
brainstorming. I don't know how we're going to get those. You have to print them and then all those kinds
Yeah.
of things. So we'll see if we can do that. If anyone watching has a resource, I'm open to suggestions.
Wall of names for veterans, friends, and family can write veterans' names on the wall.
So you can imagine that was inspired by the Wall That Heals.
Yeah.
And we were thinking, well, how can you replicate? You can't really replicate that experience, but how can you do something similar? So we thought, well, what if we had a big wall where, like for example, me coming up and writing my grandfather's name.
Oh, yeah.
Because I don't get to talk to my grandfather about that. He's gone. Writing my uncle's name and having that moment of honoring those people in your family or people that you know, or yourself if you were a veteran, being able to do that as well, people that you knew when you were in the service. And I don't know what we could do with that afterwards. We haven't really gone that far yet, but to have that experience seems like something that might be beneficial.
That could be good. I had a display in the, what did they call that room, at when the wall was out at the park. They had a building by itself.
Oh, Floral Hall?
Yeah.
That building?
And we had some displays in there from the different veterans group. I had one in there, and I left a notebook like this, that they can put their veteran's name on, where they served, and any other notes that they want to put there. So I had a whole page full
Really?
of people. I've still got it somewhere. I'm not sure if it's in this notebook or not. I didn't have time to look at it, but they put some interesting comments in there.
Wow.
So, and then maps and push pins and quilts of valor will be available too. So
Yes, Robert Warden was at our meeting that you and I had
Yeah.
recently, and he definitely volunteered to bring the Quilts of Valor. One thing that we thought about at one of our recent city government meetings, our city manager has these all-team meetings twice a year, and we recently had one where probably 90% of our employees showed up in 2 different shifts. And at the end of it, he asked people if they had served or were a veteran to come and give our intern their name. We had so many veterans that we didn't know about. I would guess it was like 20 to 30 people who came forward. So we thought about maybe taking an opportunity to honor the city government employees that have served in this way. We haven't, again, confirmed that yet, but it's just been one of those thoughts of, they are, some of them were the younger veterans that we sometimes don't get in contact with.
Yeah.
So maybe this is a way that we could honor them as well.
yeah, that's a great idea. Volunteers is the main thing. You want to get people involved, and there'll be, like you said, there'll be an article in the Paducah Sun how they can get involved and what they could do. So I'm sure that we'll be able to pick up some volunteers, by getting this out there to the public, So, and you were telling me before the program that you had been a missionary in some different places of the world. So you're pretty well open to communication as far as places you've been. So I don't suppose anybody will surprise you for, with anything. So
I don't know. I'm always surprised.
You're surprised?
I'm always surprised. I think I'm just an open-minded person that's ready for for new stuff. So.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it'll be a great event. And is there anything else that you'd like to add that I missed? Did I miss anything?
I don't think you did. I do think it's important for everyone to understand that we want this to be a community event, that we don't in any way think that we have all the answers. So if people that are watching this have ideas or things that they've always thought we should do, I hope that they'll call and let us know. This
Now,
is
who
our
should they
first
call?
year.
Should they
City
call?
Hall is probably a good
City
place
Hall?
to start.
Okay.
But again, this is going to be the first year of us trying something new. And I think it's important for us to give a little grace to trying new things, but to also realize that this is just the start and we can always make it better in the future.
Well, you have to have a start to everything.
That's right.
Well, we're going to wrap it up today, and we want to thank you for being on the program today.
Thanks for having me.
We're thankful that you come and shared this with us. So we'll see you next time.